Welcome back to Error Code
Coffee. Welcome back.
Am I?
You will never listen to this anymore after this.
Well, you annoyed the crap out of everyone, so good job.
Yeah, I don't mind if you cut that a bit shorter.
Nope, it's too late now. Everyone's going to enjoy your, how many seconds? 20?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I can do longer, but
No.
that's for another episode.
No. Stop it.
Okay.
Stop it, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, we have another question from Reddit, right?
Oh.
And this
We're doing this again.
This is a big one. I mean,
A big one?
a big, yeah. I mean, we have one that's gonna spark a lot of discussion between us two. So
Oh, mostly from you. We'll see.
no, but
I don't trust you.
fuck you, dude.
What the hell? Where is this coming from?
You wanna-
I just said I didn't trust you. You want to fuck me?
You want to fight?
You want to fuck me?
No. What? I want to fight, bro.
You want to fight?
Yeah, I'm gonna slap your ass.
What? That's a what? What the hell?
What the fuck?
Don't do that. Okay, no, seriously, shut up, because I've got to
Okay.
read out the question.
Yes, do it.
So there was this dude on Reddit.
There was this dude. That's the best beginning of a sentence. Yes.
There was a guy on
Yeah,
Reddit.
there was someone-
I think someone. Okay,
Exactly.
I don't know.
You don't know the gender.
Jesus, it's 2019. Okay, I can't say anything
He,
anymore.
she, it, whatever.
It said, what says?
It said.
What sass compilers are you using?
Haha.
Okay, so let's give a bit of context, because the question comes out of the blue, but it's actually about this person wants to he's kind of a beginner, but he wants to use either
Well-
Node Sass or something like that, right?
Yeah, so the question is kind of, well, we will go there, but the question is a bit unrelated to what we want to talk about.
No, but we'll go there.
Yeah, we'll go there. Okay,
We'll
so
go there.
yes, he's asking, what compiler do you use for CSS?
Well, for Sass, but
That's
yeah,
the same, right?
No, well, I wouldn't use
So-
Sass.
Yeah, so there's like,
Yeah.
there's Node Sass, there's Ruby Sass?
Does it still exist?
I think so, but that's like also Node Sass based, lib Sass.
Mm-hmm.
But you also have like tools,
Oh no,
Like,
please.
Compass,
No,
CodeKit.
no.
What else do you have?
I haven't looked into that for a while.
Maybe some like, how do you call it? Editor based
Mhm.
crap.
You might have like PostCSS.
PostCSS, yeah.
PostCSS?
No, wait, PostCSS
No,
doesn't
that's,
have-
that's, that's like
No,
Node
no, no, no.
Sass or something
So,
based.
CodeKit. I think that's the most famous one. You haven't used that?
Is it like a little program that watches your stuff?
Yeah.
I've used, what's it called before
What
CodeKit,
was
you
it?
said?
CodeKit? Yeah, there was another one before CodeKit.
I've used that one,
Yeah.
but I had a lot
think
of problems with it.
CodeKit is the more extensive one, right? Because that also does stylus and some other crap, I think.
Well, in any way,
Stylus, where's that now? Oh,
wait, stylus.
yeah.
What the hell is that? I remember it, but
Yeah.
I don't remember what it did.
Stylus is just sus, but then not.
It's like less.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's
It's an ancient, like, dinosaur technology.
So it's like a different flavor of CSS compilation. or
Yeah,
something.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. I think stylus is tab-based or not, I don't know.
That's interesting.
But it didn't get popular, so
Yeah.
we use Sass now.
Yeah. Well, we call it Sass, and I think that's how you pronounce it, but it's actually SCSS, right?
Well, Sass has two variants, that's the problem.
Well, I think they're not separate, actually.
No.
They are.
No, the name Sass is for both.
Well, yes, but technically SCSS can have a different, like, feature set.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, but I mean, they're both...
like,
know.
I think SCSS now is kind of separate, has a separate feature set than Sass.
Like Sasslang, right? Is it Sasslang? It's like
Sure.
the website that
Oh, yeah,
yeah
that one.
that does both.
Yeah, but I
So,
think, okay, That's true. But
yeah, you mean there's just difference between those two languages in
Yeah.
functionality and stuff?
Yeah.
But that's just because people don't support one better than the other.
So
I
that
guess.
comes down to the compiler you use.
Yeah, I guess.
Right? So eventually, like if you use Node sass compared to Ruby sass,
Yeah.
you might miss a few features or vice versa.
Yeah. It really depends on how active they update their compiler, I guess.
It's like Safari and Chrome. They both use WebKit.
Oh, don't talk about Safari.
I talk whatever the fuck I want to talk about.
Okay. So have you guys had problems with Catalina lately? No. Okay, sorry.
Where's that coming from?
Just rage. Safari was
but
kicking something.
We both use Node sass because we use Node-based build tools.
Yeah, like Webpack.
And go. Should we stop doing these noises for a bit?
I don't know. But yeah. I haven't used Gulp.
We use it for Square. And
I know, but it's just I haven't used it, like actively used it for my own project.
Okay. But we still use the same base packages. So Webpack uses Node sass as a base for their compilation, and Gulp, it depends on what you want to use.
Yeah, well, I guess. Yeah, Webpack uses PostCSS and Node sass and what else? I don't know.
But like Node sass is used for the base, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And PostCSS.
I think almost everyone uses Node sass for everything, unless you develop for Ruby applications. I guess. I don't know. I haven't
built
done
your
that.
Ruby application in Node.
I don't have that. I haven't done that in a while.
Yeah.
But
so Node sass is the answer to if you're using Node.
Yeah, but
for building.
Again, it depends on how deep you want to answer that question, right?
So how would you? Is PostCSS also a compiler? PostCSS a compiler? No. So what is there for Node that builds?
Wait,
or
isn't it a compiler?
I think it can compile.
No, because I think PostCSS is only to support certain features in CSS.
But it does compile from that syntax to.
It isn't the language. I think PostCSS, right?
Well, that's the thing. PostCSS has.
There are features in PostCSS.
Yeah, it's a plugin based thing. I think it's a compiler that you use. Like you can choose which features you want to add.
I think PostCSS is only to support CSS functionalities and properties that are not yet supported by browsers.
No, that's not true.
No,
they also use you can literally find the same features that SCSS has.
I think I'm confused with something else.
No, what you're saying is true.
No,
but they also do that. They also do sass functionality.
There's another thing that's like they help you use features that are not yet.
Oh, Next CSS.
Is Next CSS? I think that's it then.
It's like there's Next.js.
Yeah.
There's Next CSS.
It's something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm confused with that because they help you support new features that are not yet.
But I don't think that's a compiler, right?
No.
Okay, but I do think PostCSS can be used. Okay, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Anyway, so Node CSS or Node sass is the de facto compiler, I guess.
Yeah. But like, what's the main feature you use from SCSS?
Mixins, variables, how do you call it? Includes, extends, all that kind of crap.
Do you use indents?
No. What you mean, like sass, right?
Yeah, sass indents.
Yeah,
like
I don't use
you indent
tab-based for what is it?
No. I meant like, do you sometimes put like a div inside another div?
In CSS, yeah, of course.
Yeah, so that's also something that's nice. Like
sure.
Using ampersands to.
It's kind of interesting that that's also pretty normal and basic to do. We have been doing that since less, so.
Yeah, that's quite a while.
Yeah.
But it's still not really supported.
It's coming though.
Yeah.
Soon.
It's coming soon. Trademark.
Quotes.
Gaben, I see you over there.
HalfLife. Oh, sorry.
Don't give him hope, man.
No, but there's a VR game coming.
Yeah, so what? Who the hell?
I'm gonna play it.
I want HalfLife 3.
Okay.
Give it.
It looks great though.
I haven't seen any trailers.
Dude, the lighting is great.
But that's Valve.
And it's a full game.
It's a fool's game to expect anything good anymore. Anyway, let's continue.
Okay, so PostCSS. Yeah, if you're talking about like the low, how do you call it?
The baseline?
Yeah, I guess like compiler-wise,
Yeah.
it's Node sass. If you're talking about an application or whatever, you should use like Gulp or whatever. Grunt is Grunt? No, Grunt is Calm, right?
Grunt is also
Gulp,
an alternative.
Gulp, Grunt, Webpack,
There's a lot, dude.
Node, or so just whatever.
Yeah, I mean Rollup also nowadays.
I haven't used that yet, but
Yeah.
anyway, what continued in that the whole discussion?
Well, that's actually my like they did talk about. So here's the thing: if you're trying to make a new application,
Yeah,
web-based application in a framework, you're probably using components,
yeah,
and in those components, you're probably not defining things like BEM style. You're not naming things class-wise in BEM.
I know.
But you don't write your CSS in your component.
No, well,
That's the thing.
it depends.
Oh, well,
With Vue,
yeah.
I do,
But why?
because that's the
Vue way.
the de facto way to do
Okay,
it.
but that's fine.
But it's weird because with JS, oh no, because they force you to do it in line. That's why I don't do it with React.
They force you to do it in line?
Well, like JSX and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
They want you to do it in line
They
or
don't give you a
JS
little
based.
style.
In Vue, it's just you have the render part, you have a JavaScript part, and you have a styling part.
Yeah.
And in the styling part, you can just throw in whatever you want.
Yeah, it's just CSS.
But I think all that stuff just compiles to one file.
It's JS.
Yeah.
In the end. It's like a string.
It's not component
No.
based client side or
Well, React isn't component based either.
no, but I mean you can with React you can code split, so it only loads components it needs on the client side.
Well, you can do that with Vue as well.
Yeah, but I mean it's not.
It's not built in.
Yeah,
That's true. But it doesn't matter. The point still stands that
yeah,
when you're working with a framework and you're trying to make components and you have the CSS in your component, right?
yeah.
Do you have to use classes anymore? Usually not BEM style. You don't have to use BEM style.
You don't have to,
Yeah.
but I still do it.
And people who have never learned BEM will probably not use it. They'll probably
No.
just go to either element-based CSS
Yeah,
or just give them a generic class name.
yeah.
And in that case,
I mean, I think it's fine,
yeah.
especially since it's component based. But it just, for me, maybe I'm just an old fart. I don't know. It looks ugly.
Yeah, I agree. It's not semantic.
And
to me.
it doesn't feel right because we've done that before in the earlier days.
We upgraded.
Yeah, we learned that
Yeah.
using how do you call it? Yes, styling directly on HTML elements.
Inline styling?
No, not inline, but I mean just calling div or UL or whatever.
HTML element selectors.
Yeah, selectors in your CSS. It's just it gets really
It
messy.
doesn't work. Eventually, it won't work.
No, not with a large scale project.
Yeah.
When there are multiple variants also on those elements.
But that's why when you use a component-based framework, you can do it because it will be
It's like you have
scoped.
Yeah, you have like a whole bunch of separate HTML files with your own CSS. So it's you can work with that. But still, for me, it's not really readable. Or
Yeah, it's not
whatever.
semantic enough.
It doesn't
right?
feel right. Also, it's kind of an personal opinion, I guess.
Well, while I do agree, I do think that some people see the benefit of using a utility first frame. Is it a framework? What's it called? A CSS framework?
I think they call it the framework. Yeah.
Utility first CSS framework.
Yeah.
And specifically, so the question in Reddit was answered by this guy who said, yeah, we use Node sass and stuff, but if you're trying to maybe use a framework. You
Yeah.
can also look into just plain CSS, because why would you use something really complex like a CSS compiler, Node sass, for something that already is scoped?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people use Node sass specifically for indenting their CSS. And so it's scoped somewhat. So they give one of the elements a class name, and then they just put everything in there.
In one class, yeah.
So it's scoped to that.
Yeah.
I mean, they do use it that way.
Yeah.
So that's the same as using basic CSS, vanilla CSS inside a component.
And then you get the whole issue of, I want to override this, so I put another class on it, and that overrides that other thing again. And then you want
important.
Oh, no, don't say that.
It's important.
It's swearing, dude.
Oh, fuck.
Don't use important, people.
It's not important.
Well,
time to leave.
This is my cue.
Yeah.
No, but
is it our cue to take a break?
It is, and it's your cue to also take a break
of a few seconds.
Like asterisks. Just a few seconds. Okay, we'll be right back.
Yep.
It's your boys, Gideon, Murtado.
Yeah. Okay, so let's continue our discussion about Tailwind, because that's where we stopped before the break of a few seconds.
For us, it was like half. No,
it was quite a while.
It was long though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, Tailwind, right?
Yeah. Okay. I'm illustrating a situation.
Yes.
Visualize it.
Yes.
Okay. You use your magnificent brain.
No, it doesn't work. I told you I can't visualize stuff.
This guy does front end development.
I'm kidding. I can't visualize stuff.
Yeah. Okay, but let's seriously. We only have 15 minutes.
Yeah,
okay?
Let's go.
Yeah. So you have this project. You're using a web app.
Yes.
You're creating a web app, and you're using a framework, and then you're using like just CSS, plain CSS. You're like border radius and background colors and all that shit, and you put that all like in your JSX file.
Yeah.
Or in Vue, like in that little style thing.
Yeah.
And you're just specifying or selecting the HTML elements or generic classes.
Yeah.
Do you think that's better than
a utility-based CSS framework?
Okay, yeah. So what if you use a utility-based CSS framework? Is that not okay?
No.
Why?
Okay, so it's the same issue with stuff like Bootstrap, right? So first of all, a fucking shitload of classes on an element looks terrible.
Like
visually also.
Like you mean readability? It's bad.
Yes, readability is bad.
Okay.
In those class names, you also assume a lot of stuff that you know of, right?
You mean that you need to know the whole utility?
Yes. So there are like numbers for whatever range for values or widths or heights or whatever. So padding top 5 means
5 pixels.
So if you want 100 pixels, there's padding top 100.
Yes.
That's ugly, dude.
I guess.
It's just you get a shitload of class names just to get something right. And especially if you include breakpoints. Jesus Christ, dude. How are you going to do that?
Like with a grid framework.
But if you use like Tailwind with breakpoints. So you do like mobile padding top 100, tablet padding top 50, desktop padding top. And that's just one property you're editing, the padding.
That's a cool thing. He's coming over to the docs. No, in Tailwind, you can create custom component-based classes of a combination of those properties.
So just write normal CSS with your own class name and put all the stuff in there. That's the same. You're trying to solve something that doesn't need to be solved.
Well, there's benefits though.
The only use case I get with like Tailwind is you want to quickly create a project with a lot of developers, for example, and you want one like documented way to style your elements, and you want a lot of flexibility with those elements. So you want to be able to sometimes use 5 padding, sometimes 10, sometimes whatever. Then it's easier than just writing all kinds of modifiers or different classes for all those different states. But every time I hear someone saying that Tailwind is the shiz,
the shiznit,
is because they don't know how to write something that's reusable for multiple components with variants.
I do. Okay, so this is hard for me.
Yeah.
Because I do agree with you, and I don't like Tailwind either. But I'm just trying to imagine what the benefits are sometimes.
So I understand the benefit of Tailwind, absolutely. But I can't imagine a use case that happens often, you know? I don't.
Well, that's the thing is, if you're content with using a utility-based CSS framework, so that means you're either working alone. I honestly think a lot of people who use Tailwind do work alone or with a small team. Some of them use Tailwind in a big team as well. But like, how many times do you have like a lot of developers in a team anyway?
It feels like it's the same with Bootstrap. I think a lot of people use Bootstrap because there's like documentation. There's like a way to use Bootstrap. So it's easier for companies to just, use something a certain way. It's easy to know what you need to do to...
It's a bit documented, I guess.
Change something. And if you have a bunch of developers all developing and writing their own code in a different style, then it gets messy quickly if you don't have one way to do it together. So I think like in huge companies, like a few hundred people or I don't know, 50 or even 100 developers, for example, I think it gets really messy if everyone's just writing their own code. That won't work. I mean, I'm curious though, because the last time I worked at a big company, everyone it was just free for all. Everyone just could do whatever they want.
Yeah.
But if someone else had to pick a project up from someone else, there were always complaints about how the CSS was written. So
yeah, I mean, everybody, like even ordering your properties is something very subjective, in my opinion.
No, don't do it alphabetically, please. Thank you.
I agree. No, but like, there's just different opinions. You can't go around that.
No, but I think if you're working with alone or with a small group of developers, like, I don't know, 10, maybe 20, then it's fine to all write your own CSS. Because I think it's a lot easier to like synergize or work kind of the same way.
But I don't agree with you. Like, just specifically on this argument, because JavaScript also is written by hundreds of people together. Yeah. And there's still strict guidelines, and they do adhere to that, to those guidelines. And there's always people like seniors who check the code and also adjust it if needed. Yeah. That should also be the case with CSS.
Oh, yeah, sure. That would be like perfect. But the problem is that CSS is like the shoved away child. How do you call it? The
black sheep of the family.
Yeah. CSS is always like, everyone knows CSS.
Yeah.
Everyone is a CSS pro, even though they are not.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's the problem with CSS. A lot of people underestimate CSS, and that's why they use Bootstrap also, because they don't really care about CSS. Yeah. So they just
it's just a tool, really easy tool.
And your mom, your dad can write CSS. That's like,
hey, come on, man! Don't drag those in there in this conversation.
That's the feeling I always get from developers, and that's not true. Like, writing really good CSS is really hard, and it's a skill in itself.
Yeah, I do think
it's just underappreciated, sadly. So
I do think CSS is something like undervalued.
Yeah,
and it's really powerful if you use it well. It can like make or break your project, in my opinion. Sometimes, as far as performance goes, definitely.
Yeah,
and how you design your website. A lot of things are now dealt with JavaScript, and that's like that's the problem with like modern development anyway. Is we're getting super performant machines that can run that JavaScript. But should it though?
Yeah.
Like they just put everything on the JavaScript engine and expect it to handle everything until you have an average user that doesn't use the latest MacBook Pro and he just enjoys that jank. And then you're like, oh, well, it works on my laptop. But if your CSS was nice and written well, like with a thought, like the thing is, people have it as an afterthought. Like, oh, let's just give it a style to look nice. But it's actually a way to set up the whole view of your project.
It's really interesting because a lot of times when I look at the code of developers, the CSS is always the bad part.
Yeah.
It's always the CSS that looks the worst of all the languages.
Yeah, I mean, it's
uh,
also easier to.
Well, that's the thing.
To do.
It's
the
easier.
base is easier.
Yeah, exactly. There's like a really low, how do you call it?
Entry level.
Yeah, it's really simple to learn and to do. It's just to be really good at it.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time and practice. But
the skill cap is high.
The skill cap, yeah. But it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's always also with like interviews or how do you call it? Like job interviews, I guess. They never ask
about CSS.
Yeah, it's always how's your JavaScript.
Yeah, like can you
show
write a for loop?
Can you show us some JavaScript? And I've had multiple times where I was like, oh, I made this CSS, and they're like, oh yeah, we don't care about it. It's fine.
Really?
You know? Yeah,
that's pretty sad.
They don't care.
But so in the end, I would say like Tailwind can be useful.
Sure.
There's use cases.
Bootstrap can be useful.
Yeah.
Like,
would you use it though? For
all those frameworks can be useful.
Would you ever use like a Utilityfirst framework?
Maybe if I have like 2 days to work on a project or something. No, let me rephrase that. I think what a better use case is when I have to make something that's extremely flexible and modular. Modular.
But for whom? For whom should it be modular? For the developers, or for the end user? Like
both. So it can be for other developers, maybe even like junior developers. Maybe you have to build something that's made for junior developers, and they have to be able to work on it quite easily and quickly.
Yeah.
Or it can be something for clients itself that want to, sometimes edit something in the HTML, and they're not professionals, for example, but they want to sometimes change a bit of code to, make it how they like it. So, and I think in that case, it's nice. Maybe also like in if you like a WordPress project and you have the new Gutenberg crap, for example, maybe then it's nice that people can just,
that might actually be like to have that.
You can add the CSS in Gutenberg, like the names, class names, for example. That's easier.
You would have it as like a base package in WordPress.
Yeah,
and then you can always use that.
Yeah, so if you're writing a blog post, you can just go to HTML and just add those classes from Tailwind, for example.
I'm gonna puke.
Or on those blocks or whatever,
Yeah.
I think because that's easier than having to look at your CSS files, remember class names, and then copy pasting it over to a blog post, for example, if you want a certain section or whatever.
So is there actually any reason why we're not just inline styling elements
right now with
compared to Utility-first CSS frameworks? Like, what's the difference in your mind?
Readability, I guess.
Okay, because what I read is that, well, I heard a podcast about the creator of Tailwind, and one of the things they wanted to do is, like, if they that's kind of interesting. They combine all the properties that are similar into one class. So eventually, your CSS file is really small. So it's like, even though you're always inlining the properties, basically you're inlining the property, but you're using class names, right? Yeah.
So that's also why I'm not like complaining about the output of Tailwind or something like that, because I trust it's okay. It looks fine.
Yeah.
That's not the issue, but you can write that same stuff like efficiently and reusing classes, and also like using one class for multiple elements in your CSS with extends and includes in your CSS. So
that's true.
That's why I don't see the real use for. Well, I mean, I see the use, but I don't.
Okay. Last argument though.
Yeah.
What do you think is harder to learn, SCSS or sass, compared to a utility-first framework like Tailwind?
Again, if you don't know any CSS and you're gonna work with Tailwind, why?
Because it's closer to what CSS should be. Like what CSS does out of the box.
Sure. Yeah, but so in that case, why not use inline?
Because
it's the
it's
same,
readability.
right? If you're writing padding, how do you call it, semicolon or something? Well, semicolon, yeah, I guess.
Colon.
Oh, yeah, like padding colon 5 pixels. How is that any different than writing a class name called padding top or bottom 5?
Oh, in the end, it's still because it has one style. Like even though Tailwind doesn't have a lot of like personality as far as naming goes.
Yeah,
it doesn't have very complex classes, but it still is about like reusability of those classes and very. I don't know. To me, it makes sense that everything has a class name, and it has to reuse that. You have to reuse that if you need to put something similar in a different component.
Yeah, sure.
So
it's really
you can't change suddenly from 5 to 4 because everything has 5.
It's a really interesting idea. So I think it's useful in some ways. Just I'm not gonna use it probably.
Me neither. Yeah.
But,
It's just not for us, I guess, for now. Maybe once.
But yeah, it's weird because it is kind of in the uprise, I guess. It's getting popular.
It's pretty popular now.
I don't know. Maybe I just don't understand why. Maybe that's the biggest problem. The reasons don't necessarily outweigh the just writing normal CSS for me.
The benefits. There's not a lot of benefits.
The only thing I hear is people who don't know how to write CSS properly use Tailwind or something like that.
That's not true.
No, I know, but it's just that's what I hear.
Yeah.
It's like you don't get it to how to write good CSS and reuse classes and stuff like that. So you use something that's I don't know.
I don't want to end on this note, but to me, BEM also has a few annoying parts.
Of course, yeah.
And then I can imagine people getting really frustrated with that and just throwing it out of the window and saying, "Fuck this! I'm going to
Tailwind."
Yeah,
yeah. I get it.
Like I can
that's
imagine.
What I mean.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
Like maybe a lot of companies have done BEM and then they were like, "Fuck this! It doesn't work if we work together."
So because BEM makes you think before you write, and even then after you've thought about it and you've written code,
you have to maybe refactor it.
Yeah, then you're like, oh fuck, I have this component again, but then it's a different component with some, so you have to rewrite old stuff. But if you do it properly, and if you have two components, and they are kind of the same but not totally the same, so
modifier. Yeah,
or just write one
extension
placeholder selector or a class that has some how we call it similar properties. And just extend them or include them in your in those components. That's also a solution.
Yeah, but is that BEM?
Yeah.
That you use
No, it's not necessarily BEM, but I mean, BEM helps you think that kind of way.
I do agree that
I really the main reason why I like BEM is because it makes you think in a good way about how you're writing.
I do also think it makes your code more maintainable.
Yeah,
that's really important.
That's the main reason. Yeah.
I don't think utility-first frameworks give maintainability. They're inherently unmaintainable because you have to go past all those components. Like if you use a component-based framework, it's okay, right? Because you just go to that component and change it. But imagine not using a component-based framework. It's super messy to use Tailwind because you'll have to go look at every code, every line of code, and then check if you use anything like that.
Yeah, and that's what BEM solves. Is you can see from the name and how the class name is made up.
Yeah, it's a block element or module.
Yeah, if it's dependent on another
modifier.
another element,
Mm-hmm.
or if it's a modification of another element. So it's readability. That's all. It helps a lot with making code as readable and as understandable as possible. But I agree, it can also get really messy. Badly written BEM, or
It's even worse, maybe.
a really big code base with BEM can get really difficult to read and understand. So
especially if you're new to the project.
yes. So again, that's why something like Tailwind or Bootstrap is nice, because it has documentation.
Yeah.
There's one way to write it, so you get it much quicker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now let's just Tailwind out of here. No, was it more like a bird flying?
Okay. That sounded pretty real, actually.
Through the window. But yeah, that's it again.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
We actually did take a bit longer this time.
Yeah, it's fine. 10 minutes, I guess. 5 minutes. 5 minutes long.
Yeah.
It's okay. 6 minutes now.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
7.
Time is running out.
But thank you for listening and maybe watching.
I don't know.
And we'll see you guys next time. Maybe we'll rant again. And tell us,
we always rant, so
that's true.
That's fine.
But tell us if you like this kind of style, because it's not very different from what we usually do. But we want to like include some kind of like input from outside sometimes.
Yeah,
it's fun to just see what the web development community is doing, and we can actually
and
respond to that.
Yeah, we've said it before in earlier episodes, but if you have some questions or want us to talk about something, just give us a message, and we'll probably talk about it.
Yeah, we'll bring it up,
and you will include it into the podcast.
Yeah,
that's nice.
That's not possible in Tailwind.
No includes. No,
I actually don't think.
I don't know. I'm kidding.
I've never used it.
This guy. Okay. Anyway, we'll see you next episode.
See you later.
Bye.